With over 20 years of ICT experience with the Bank of New Zealand, our next DevOps spokesperson is a passionate solutions architect. He is a noted ambassador of CNCF, DevOps Institute, and Continuous Delivery Foundation. He is one of the core organizers of DevOps Days NZ conference and also co-chairs for Cloud Native Summit Wellington. And that's not all, ladies and gentlemen. He also hosts the Wellington CNCF Meetup and the Future of ICT Meetup to help students and people returning to work or looking for career opportunities in ICT. DevOps is right, DevSecOps is left, risk and governance in the middle. That's what our speaker is going to talk about today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm all excited to bring to your screens the one and only Mr. BMK Lakshminarayanan.
Thank you very much for joining me in this session, and I'm extremely delighted to speak again at DevOps India Summit 2020. And this is my second time speaking, and I know this DevOps India Summit actually brings some of the great thought leaders, authors, speakers, practitioners around the world in the space of DevOps, DevSecOps. And this year is extra special for me because the topic is close to my heart, where you talk about DevOps and DevSecOps and governance, compliance, and risk. Right. And my topic today is actually DevOps is right, DevSecOps is left. My tagline for this is actually multi-level Mario engineering challenge or engineer challenge, So you might ask this question. So what is this is all about? Because I always try a different technique to share my stories and experiences with the audience and, my fellow DevOps enthusiasts. So in this session, I'm going to walk you through, the problem of a typical DevSecOps or DevOps engineer, what they go through the organization and how some of the enterprise IT related problems like your governance, compliance, risk, and security comes as an hurdle in this. So this is where I'm taking the Mario, the video game as actually my an example and walk you through the story. So by the way, my name is BMK Lakshminarayanan, and you can reach me out in the Twitter on this space. Now, what is that? I want to talk about who am I and what is my role. Let me move on to my next screen, and this is me, and my name is BMK Lakshminarayanan. I'm a solution architect with the Bank of New Zealand. I'm based out of Wellington, New Zealand. I'm a solution architect, and I'm also a DevOps architect. Okay, so I have a simple mission, and the mission for me is that make your life better, make others' life better, and make the world better. So you might ask that actually, so where am I in this picture? Because when you help the other people to be really good with what they are doing, and when you make the rest of the world really good, and you are in a good place, and you do, you give more, and you can deliver more, and you can be good for your organization. So that's where I say, like, my mission is to, help others and help people around me. And by the way, then that motivates me to deliver more, and then I can work to achieve the organizational goals and missions. By the way, in terms of my community engagements, I'm one of the core organizers for the DevOps Days New Zealand. And I also co-chair Cloud Native Summit, Wellington. And the other thing is that I have Cloud Native Ambassador, CNCF, and also I'm also an ambassador for DevOps Institute and Continuous Delivery Foundation. And I do run a couple of meetups. One is on CNCF, and one is to help the people who are returning to IT, switching career from IT, non-IT to IT, students, women coming to into information technology. So I run meetups to help them as well. Right. Now, going back to the main theme of our topic. So what I'm going to talk about is, my talk is in twofold. One, where I talk about the problems, and number two is where I talk about some of the ideas and solutions for the problem. Probably I might not give you directly the the framework or solution for you, but I'm just sharing some of my ideas, what I have seen in my practical experience. It works better for us. It works better for an organization, but we're still learning. Everybody is learning in this space. Now, let's start our story, the very first half of the story. Okay. Every developer, every engineer, as part of any initiative, whether it's a product development, project development, or any kind of a delivery mechanism that you might have in your organization, we all are on a mission. Okay, the mission is that we want to complete that work. We want to get that work done, and we want to get it done in a way that we want to deliver. It's with a high quality, and it is really good and adds value to the customer, right? Because every project has, most of the organization, the projects are delivered based on some kind of a deadline. You have a delivery deadline. The deadline could be for customer-driven delivery deadline, or it could be like a regulatory compliance, anything like that. So when we say an organization, takes off a journey, and they take off to go through this journey like a DevOps transformation or a digital transformation or DevSecOps transformation, whatever the style of that and the methodology that you want to talk about. And the developer, typically, I come from a developer background. I myself am a developer. So we all are on a mission that we want to get that done. We want the work to get done the most efficient way that we want to get done. And we are really interested in putting our head down and keep thinking about the problem, writing the code to solve the problem, and see how it is adding value to the customer. So every developer is on a mission, right? Now, as part of this journey, as part of this mission, similar to the Mario game, and you have to go through different challenges. There are things that are on your way, which are slowing you down. Which is basically like a challenge in the video game, right? You have a difficult challenge. So the kind of the character that you see here, that the Mario is jumping over that character. It means when the obstacles, they come, you need to, it's not working around them, but actually you need to face those challenges. You have to solve those problems. Then you have to get on with the next thing in your delivery, right? Now, we have different challenges to unlock. When I talk about project delivery, and I'm talking more from the engineering perspective, that the people who are working part of the engineering team or the delivery team for delivering that value to the customer. So when you see from their point of view, we have different challenges to solve. We have different challenges to unlock. So it means the complexity of your enterprise organization, whether you're retail, banking, e-commerce, whatever kind of a site that you are, then you have different problems to solve in your IT organization. So the developers, they have to go in front of some kind of a governance forums, or maybe an architecture review boards, or maybe a design governance forums, or maybe an operational governance forums, or meet some kind of a security requirements, or audit and compliance requirements. So it could be you have different things in your flow, in your game. So the thing is that when a developer is on a mission, he wants to go and get that work done. But when you are forced with these challenges, what happens? This is where my first half of the story that I'm talking about. Right now, what motivated engineers they do? We all are interested in keep going. We want to get that work done, and we have a story. Whether you follow Scrum, you follow Kanban, you follow Agile, you follow any kind of a framework, it doesn't matter. Because what we are really interested in is that as an engineer, I have a card, I pull that card, I look at the requirements, I understand what needs to be done, or I discuss with the business, whatever that you do, we want to get that work done, work done. And that's how we motivate ourselves. When as a developer, engineer, ops folk, or test engineer, you see that the solution that you've delivered is working in front of your eyes, and that motivates you, and that further appeals you to go and get the work done, the next delivery part of the story, whatever it is. Now, what happens when people like us, who are really motivated engineers, keep going? And of course, we unlock some challenges which are really simple, and then we can keep going. But some cases, it's really hard. Hey, wait, you have something called security, a new level that you need to clear. And probably people who have played the Mario game can really relate to this, the dragon, which is spitting the the fire, it means like you need to escape that fire. You need to cross the dragon, and then you have to go to the next level. And this is actually the funny part as we see in the game. But the real problem in enterprise IT is that when an engineer is working towards this kind of a challenge, oh, I have to meet certain requirements. Of course, yes, I'm saying like, and as an engineer, as an organization, that we need to meet the requirements for security. No doubt about it. The problem is that whatever the organization thinks that they want to do, we take that kind of the idea, the security, DevOps, DevSecOps, or digital transformation, and we over-engineer them. We really overload the term, and we actually suffocate those terms in our enterprise, right? And what happens is that, and the security is no longer enabling you to do the right thing for the organization. Instead, it becomes actually an obstacle for you. It instead becomes actually a challenge that you cannot, you can't get over it. From my memory, when I played this Mario game and as a child, as a kid, I know that like I never passed this level. Actually, this level is really complicated for me as a kid. And I remember like I played maybe 100 times to get over this, to get better. So the security is like, hey, this is your new level. You need to clear the security and the things that you need to answer, the forms that you need to fill in the organization, the meetings that you need to go. So these all I see as actually a different challenge. This is where I say this is the first level of a DevOps engineer, or a developer, or an operation engineer, or a test engineer in the enterprise IT organization, going through that kind of journey, the emotions and the feelings, similar to if people who have read Phoenix Project and the Unicorn Project, you can imagine that character like Maxine, standing and looking at it. Oh, what is that I need to do? Oh, probably this is my level. I need to clear this level. Okay, this is insane. Probably this is too much for you, right? Like, I don't know exactly how I clear this kind of a multi-level, multi-challenge game, but it's a fun while playing. But in a real IT organization, this is actually a fun part, right? And you go through your journey of delivery, delivering the value for your customer. You see that risk comes on your way, the compliance comes on your way, the regulatory requirements come on your way, the governance come on your way, the architectural decisions that you need to make comes on your way. So it's no longer that I have a smooth, clear path that I can go and deliver the value as fast, as quick, and as safer, as my business needs and as my customer needs. But whereas I have to go through the architectural review meetings, I have to go through the design review meetings, I have to go through the risk assessment meetings, I have to go through the security review meetings. This is the problem. Now, what is this one? Hang on, this is actually the governance. The governance where actually some of the top people in the organization, they 20 or 30 people sit in a room and then look at your design and ask all those questions, whether how this is aligned to the business, how this is aligned to the funding, how this is aligned to your organizational objectives and goals, and who wants it, when they want it, are you doing the right thing for your organization? All those kind of question comes into picture. Now you look at it, wow, this is altogether a different level. Now what I'm going to do the picture may be really funny, but in the reality, people who have gone through this kind of a transformation, the people who have stood in front of the governance committees, the people who have stood in front of the architecture review boards to get approval for their application, architecture, design, endorsements, they can all relate really well with this, what I'm talking about, So this is something like, crazy. What happens is that what are we trying to do here? Are we trying to please the people who are in the governance? Are we really trying to add value to the customer? Are we trying to please and satisfy the ego of certain individuals in the organization? Are we trying to deliver the business value for our business and for customers the most effective and efficient way? I will give an example. If you were talking about maybe 1,000 hours of, maybe 1,000 hours or maybe 2,000 hours or 6 months or maybe an year kind of a work you want to deliver in an iterative way that you can show the value and progress to your customer. Now, the 25%, 30% of your estimate in your program or in a project or in this initiative, it goes only to these kind of governance meetings and governance documents. Now, the question is that the person who is filling the governance documents, the person who is submitting these documents, the person who's attending these meetings, I really feel bad for that fellow, right? And everybody in this organization, we go through that. Like, you title that person, whatever it is. And I mean, whether you treat them as a hero, they are the god, they are the savior in your organization because they help getting that project get across all this problem. And this is a typical classical mentality in an enterprise IT organization who are trying to adapt to the modern engineering practices, talking about speeds, talking about stability, talking about delivering the value to the customer. What we need to do is actually probably look at ourselves, the introspect of ourselves, and see how we can get this done. Okay, now let's move on. The question is that after seeing the first half of my story is that with all these things that you have in front of you, talking about security, governance, compliance, and regulatory requirements, if you're in a financial institution, then ask this question: how fast could you deliver the value to the customer? And can you deliver every sprint? Can you deliver can you deploy every day? If there is an initiative change that comes into your organization, can you deliver? Because everybody as of today is an IT organization, and everybody wants to deliver the best thing for their customers. Now, the time to market is crucial and critical thing for anybody who wants to stay in the business, because we have seen the statements like, the fast will eat the slow, right? Some people think that slow is better, but by the time that you finish the governance meetings and come out of it, a startup company would have already delivered that value to the customer, and they already have signed up for those customers. Your customers have already signed up for those services. So you need to ask this question: how, as an organization, as an IT organization, these things that I need to make, or meet requirements like security, risk, and compliance and governance requirements that I need to meet, how do I position them to enable my engineering team or the delivery team to deliver what they need to deliver to the customer? Can I enable them to do the right thing? And the other question even that you need to ask is that how relevant these all are, because most of the organizations, this risk, compliance, and governance, or in a short they call like GRC, right? The GRC is do they add value as of today? Because they all has been, all these things have been inherited by the current delivery teams from their ancestors. Now you need to go and ask this question: what we have established as an IT organization, as an enterprise IT organization 20 years before, is that still relevant for us? Do I need to fill do I need to fill the 100 pages document to get through this governance committee and risk committee? Am I do it? So now this is where the problem comes in, about asking the right questions and seeing whether these governance committees, these risk assessments, these kind of security requirements that you have. Now, I remember back in 2016 when I was talking about DevOps and with one of my security friend, actually, they came along and they listened to my topic and they listened to my pitch, and they said, it's all good, but you can't do it. Why I can't do it? Because of problem 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But 1, 2, 3, 5, 4, 5, what you listed more are subjective. These are not actually, that is something that we need to meet, because it is something in our mind which is actually stopping us from doing. But actual requirements, if you look at it, it is very easy. Whether it comes to PCI, whether it comes to unauthorized access, whether it comes to rollback segregations that you want to implement, you need to be really concrete. Give them the clarity, give them the requirement, tell them exactly what is that they have to meet. This is where the challenge comes in. Now, let's dive into our the solution problem. Okay. Now, all these examples that I talked about, these are like organizations like a Mario game, right? You all can relate. Next time when you stand in front of the governance committee and ARB, the Architecture Review Board, or CAB, for example, Change Management Board, you think yourself like a Mario engineer and you're trying to get past those problems, And that's what actually that I want to give you the visualization for it. Now, we all go through this level, and sometimes I've seen that some of the highly motivated engineers, they get frustrated because they couldn't able to deliver what they want to do. It drives everybody crazy. It drives everyone slow down. At the end of the delivery, somebody says that, we are the budget is we are over on the budget. We couldn't able to meet the timeline. We couldn't able to meet the promise that we made. Come on, guys, you need to go back and ask this question. Whatever we have within the organization, have we put and have we structured and have we made the group together to deliver the value for the customer? Are we satisfying our own internal egos and then unwanted requirements? What is that you want to do? How many people have read their own document after going through this governance? I fill in 200 pages document and I am the only person as an author, and I am the last person as an author who read the complete document, and nobody pays attention to what exactly is there and how value it is adding. And probably we need to think about how we make it simple. Now let's go back into the solution mode. I'm going to talk about 3 or 4 simple techniques, how to get over it, right? Now, there is a momentum in our industry, and this is something kickstarted maybe 3-4 years or maybe more than that, as part of the digital product delivery, whether you're a retail, whether you're a banking institution, some kind of whatever that you're doing as a big enterprise IT organization, a part of your business, helping the business to achieve the best what they can and delivering the best they can to the customers. Now you ask the question, are we running a project initiative? Are we delivering a product to the customer? Are we keep building the capability by adding an existing feature? Example, if you're a bank, you might be having internet banking where the online banking customers can log in, transact, or it's a mobile banking where I can look at my transaction, do my fund transfers, make bill payments, or charge my mobile phone, whatever it is. Now you think about it. What is the critical thing in initiating a project? Get some requirements, do some design work, deliver, and you disappear by handing over to somebody else, like a BAU. And the team who gets a handover from you, they aren't fixed actually, because I was initially in my earlier stages of my career, I was part of actually a team. We used to support 70 odd applications, and nobody has a clue actually, how these applications are working and who is using it and how we are delivering, these things to, how it is useful for the customers. And I still remember, some of the time, when we looked at the code for some defect fixes, we look at it, this is using some of the old class libraries. This is using some of the old frameworks in the code base. Now, the question that you need to ask is that these initiatives, the projects who come, deliver, and disappear, it's no longer going to work. And this is where the project to product kind of momentum has come in. So if you are going to talk about you have a stream teams, domain teams delivering value for your business, then probably this is where we need to go to. Instead of having a central governance, think about a situation where we can decentralize and delegate to our the governance. Okay. Now, first of all, let's stop back and understand why we need the governance. So as of today, the organizations are subject to many regulated governing bodies. Example, you need to meet GDPR, you need to meet customer privacy, you need to the data privacy and PCI DSS compliant. Like you might have different kind of a compliance, or it could be health related, it could be local body, government or regulator related. It could be anything. So it means you need to protect the customer data. You need to maintain because the trust that you establish with your customer is very, very critical, very, very important for you, right? So it comes to financial accountability, data retention, and disaster. So this is why you need the governance. Now, the question is that how do you meet it? Right. So most of the organization, to meet all those requirements, what I shared with you, they put something like a governance and structure, and they say the IT governance responsibility is to make that all the IT initiatives within the organization is well aligned with the business. By the way, they can deliver what they want to deliver to their customer. So this is where the IT governance in picture. So why is very clear, and how we are doing is very clear. There is no doubt about it. We all agree with that. But the way how we are doing is the right way of doing it or not. That's where the question comes into this. Now, the second part that I want to talk about is actually the compliance tick boxes. Now, the thing is that most of us, you can think that, when it comes to compliance, I have maybe 4 check boxes or 20 check boxes. I have to tick all those check boxes saying that, okay, yeah, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. And if you look at it, there is a kind of a question and answer, because your auditor is interested in knowing have you met this particular requirement? If you met, then you are compliant. If you haven't met and you are non-compliant. So you need to talk about how do I make this compliance merely a tick box, which is on a paper or maybe a digital, but can I make this compliance as a code? So by the way, I can evidence that showing the audit log produced by my system. Example, like, if you want to say that my delivery pipeline is producing who approved that the commit, or who reviewed that commit, who actually committed the code in your in your repository. So as long as you can produce the evidence for that, I think you're meeting the requirement, right? And if somebody says that a developer cannot deploy the code directly into production, and in production servers the developers cannot log in, absolutely fine. But if your automated deployment pipeline is delivering the code to the production servers, then you can evidence that and you're meeting the requirement here. So this is where I'm saying move away from just merely ticking the compliance tick boxes to the compliance as code. The third one is actually faking the security controls. So what is faking the security controls? So let's talk about it. Most of us, when I say most of us, I'm talking about addressing in general. So we say that, oh, my code base is secure, my libraries are secure, I know what is the vulnerability status of my organization, and then I have all the policies, standards, and controls. By the way, then I can prevent any fraud, or I can prevent any breach or anything like that. But the question is that now this is sitting in somebody's mind or in somebody's desk as part of a paper, as a form, but these are not scalable, right? And you're telling that subjectively to somebody, saying that, yeah, my code is secure. But what is the evidence that your code is secure? Okay, as of today, any microservices, any architecture, any distributed system that you use, it might be using close to 200 packages and libraries. Now you need to provide an evidence that all these 200 packages, all these libraries that I'm using, all the code that I'm using, all the database, codes that I have, all these are secure and as per the secure code practices. Can you evidence that? You cannot fake those things, right? Now you need to be real. You have seen some of the biggest breaches, massive breaches in the past, like in the last year or two, where GDPR compliance is like 4% of your annual revenue. You will get penalized when something happens like that. So now you need to understand, how do I make them, instead of just trying to say that I meet my security controls, can you show them in evidence? So this is what I'm saying, bake them into the delivery pipeline. So by the way, you have your security code scanners, you have your library scanners, your libraries getting downloaded from your firewall for building, all those things are actually again evident. So you need to have some kind of security controls in your pipeline. By the way, you can evidence those things. Now, the next one is that no to tedious audits, because auditors are really interested in sitting in having a QA conversation and finding all the evidence and ticking the box and then writing a report and handing over to your management and for the maybe a governing body saying that, yeah, these people have done everything. But if auditors, they don't believe because somebody is saying that. If BMK says that, yeah, my code base is really secure, that doesn't satisfy the auditor, right? They want to see an evidence for that. They want to see that, the controls are in place, and this is how somebody gains access to the system. This is how somebody deploys the code. This is how somebody logins to a server, and they want to look at all the controls that you have in place. So by the way, that when something goes wrong, and we know why it went wrong, right? So you need to talk about, how do I go into an automated evidence repository? So these are the 4 key points that I want to talk about. And now, quickly, I will give you some helping tips about what's happening in around this space. Again, the question comes back is that when you have decentralized governance and when you have automated compliance as part of your pipeline, when you're baking your security as part of your control, and when you have evidence repository which are automated and it's producing the repository, the log of all the evidences are there, when you have all this automated, and how fast now you could deliver the customer value? Ask this question. You're no longer going to the ARB. You are not standing for a policy satisfaction to say in a meeting, and you are not filling 100 pages document. This is all in your delivery pipeline. So by the way, now you could really deliver the value as you have promised to your business, as you promised to your customers, right? And this is where I'm driving to this discussion. Now, finally, the Mario engineer says that, oh my goodness, now thank you, Mario, your quest is over. Now I can click the button, I can release to production. Now all these problems of your governance, risk, security, compliance, all this. But the beauty is that when you have this as actually a framework in your organization, this will enable the people to do the right thing. Now, let's talk about a few things. Number one, I don't know how many of you are familiar with this, but there is a website called dearauditor.org. Okay, this was part of one of the initiatives from the some of the folks from the enterprise DevOps group have come together, and they have I really give them the shout out, because instead of what they have done is actually they wrote a nice love letter to the auditor telling them, because your IT is changing, your IT landscape is changing. We are no longer on a physical machine. We are moved to virtual machine. We are moved to the Kubernetes cluster. We are moved to cloud, and we are moving to public cloud. All those things are changing rapidly. Now, this particular dearauditor.org, you go through this. They have a nice GitHub repo, and they have a nice matrix to talk about what exactly the auditors they ask and how you can meet those requirements. Very simple. And just have a look at this one. The next one is actually the IT Revolutions, who basically run the DevOps Enterprise Summit, the conference. And these folks have run actually, bring some of the thought leaders and practitioners together. And they publish some of the free material on the space called forum papers. And they published actually a forum paper for DevOps automated governance reference architecture. And this is really a gold. If you don't know where to start, what to look for, and how the example will look like, and this is a good place for you to start, because they also have actually one of the case study and sample implementation as well as to take on this. The other one is that the Sonatype, they have published earlier this year called DevSecOps reference architecture. So how an organization can successfully deploy DevSecOps practices. What are the tools that you need, how they are integrating, what are the kind of interactions between them, whether they are automated or manual security, and all those things. It's a beautiful picture. And the beauty with this Sonatype contribution to the space is that, and it's like, it's a reference architecture, so it's available like in a different form. You can take that picture, you can customize them, and as you need, as for your organization, and you can implement it. And this is another beauty that you have about the reference architecture. So please pay attention to it. And finally, folks, I've talked about two things. One is about the problem space of GRC, the governance, risk, and compliance and security that talked about. And I talked about some ideas, like the four ideas about decentralizing them, compliance as a code, and baking the security controls in your pipeline, and also providing more evident in an automated way for satisfying your auditing requirements. I will tell you, your auditors will love. You no longer need to buy lunch for them, and of course you could still get lunch for them, no doubt about it. But what I'm saying is that you will be in a better position as an organization, and having those automated way of meeting those requirements, and it will save a hell lot of time in your initiative. Earlier, I said in my talk, 30% of your overhead only to meet those requirements. I'll tell you, the 30% is actually, you can bring back to your actual delivery value. With that, I want to also, as part of the closing thoughts, I want to share some of the books that have inspired me over these years. And please take a look at it. And these books have made a lot of contributions and helped a lot of individuals, folks, organizations to change their, the thinking, change their mindset. With that, once again, thank you, folks, and thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is BMK Lakshminarayanan, and my topic was DevOps is right, DevSecOps is left, risk and governance in the middle.